Now, as I told you that we have some statutory committees in our college. So the SM Shetty College is, believing for the safe and healthy workplace for all. Being a student or a faculty, we are just, keeping the environment safe and healthy for all to work. So these are the following committees we have been constituted in our college. And then first is your anti-ragging cell. Second is your internal complaints committee, then women development cell and grievance redressal cell. Students can directly approach the teacher in charges of the various cells or mail their concerns to the email IDs provided. Okay, so I'm just going to one by one all the committees and whatever information they have provided, I'll just let you know. Now, the very first is what your anti-ragging committee. In charge person is Advocate Hamid Khan. He belongs to BMS department and you can find him in 8th floor staff room. So who are the members of anti-ragging committee? One is Kalpana Rai Menon, Professor Kalpana Rai Menon. She is a BMM coordinator, and Assistant Professor Vijay Vishwakarma. He is from Commerce Department and he will be available in 6th floor staff room. This is a given email ID. If you cannot, or if you feel that you cannot directly communicate with these three people, so you can just mail your concerns to this given mail ID. I'll be sharing this PPT with you all, so there's no need of just writing down right now. I'll just give you this email ID, this PPT afterwards. So this is your email ID, which which you can use it to just send your concern if you have anything regarding the ragging, if happens with you. So now anti-ragging cell, as per the order of Supreme Court of India and subsequent notification from the University Grants Commission, that is UGC, ragging constitutes one of or more any intentions by student or a group of students on. So which are the issues you can address under your anti-ragging cell? There are some been listed over here. I'll just read it once, everything. First, any act of indiscipline, teasing, or handling with rudeness, any act that prevents, disrupts, and regular academic activity, any activity which is likely to cause annoyance, hardship, psychological harm, or creates fears or apprehensions, any act of financial extortion or forceful expenditure, any act of physical abuse causing assault, harm, or danger to health, any act of abuse by spoken words, emails, SMS, or public insult, etc. Any act of injury or infringement of the fundamental right to the human dignity. Any act of wrongful commitment, kidnapping, molesting, or committing unnatural offenses, using of criminal forces, trespass, or intimidation, any unlawful assembly or conspiracy to ragging. So these are some few been issues addressed over here. You can have more issues if you feel that comes under your ragging, so you can just mention it and just report it to the cell, the given members, and if you can't, then you can just mail it to the given email ID. Now the next one is your internal complaints committee, that is ICC. Okay, and here the in charge person is Assistant Professor Neena Sharma. She belongs to BMM department, and the three members are also there. Advocate Hamid Khan, again he belongs to the BMS department. Smita Ravindranath, she is a librarian. Assistant Professor Himani Shukla, she is from BSc IT department, and this is the given email ID which you can use if you have any complaints. Okay, internal complaints, and which all complaints can be considered inside this committee, that we will see before we just go to the objective of this particular committee. So the objectives of the internal complaint committee is to prevent sexual harassment of women at the workplace and to create an environment free of gender based discrimination, to offer service such as counseling, legal aid in case of atrocities against women, to create awareness regarding women's rights. There are the following issues being addressed under ICC. There can be more. If you feel that your issues are coming, uh, if you feel that you have to report your issues inside this complaint committee, you can definitely go and do that. Any form of physical or mental sexual harassment, any actions or words that hurt the self-esteem and dignity of girl students and lady faculty members, any kind of discrimination based on gender. So now the third committee is your Women Development Cell, that is WDC. In charge person is Assistant Professor CA Zainab Rangwala. She belongs to the BMS department. So these are some members we have inside the WDC: Professor, Assistant Professor Advocate Hamid Khan, Professor Avnit Kaur, Professor Himani Shukla, Professor Prachi Agrawal, Professor Nabila Kazi, and Professor Sharanya Sanoj. Everyone, you can find it in the 8th floor staff room except Avneet Kaur and Prachi ma'am. She belongs to the 6th floor staff room. If you want to talk with them, you can go to the 6th floor and you can find her. Okay, and this is a given email ID over here. You can just use this email ID if you feel that you have, and this is specifically for the ladies and the girls of our college. If I talk about the ICC, here we are saying that we are working for not having the gender biasness, or we want to create an environment for gender based, free from the gender based discrimination. So in ICC, if even boys feels they want to complain something, they can do it. It's not only specifically for a girl, but they can also go and they can put their concerns into the given mail ID. Okay, but WDC is meant for the girls, so they can use this committee to report their issues. Now, what is the objective? The objectives of the Women Development Cell aims to promote the gender equality, equity, gender sensitization, gender empowerment, prevent sexual harassment at workplace, and promote general well-being of female students, teaching and non-teaching women staff in the colleges. Now, what all issues you can address or you can have under the WDC? If you have any issues related to gender biasness, arousing gender sensitization amongst students and staff, any issues related to women rights, any issues related to sexual harassment at workplace. Okay, so there are few issues been mentioned over here. If you feel, if you have other issues which can comes under this committee, you can just address. Now, the last cell is what your grievance redressal cell. Who is an in charge person for this? Again, Assistant Professor Kalpana Rai Menon. She belongs to the BMM and she's the coordinator of BMM department. The members are Advocate Hamid Khan and Assistant Professor Avneet Kaur. Now, if you see over here, you will find that in all the four committees, we have one advocate, the lawyer. Okay, so if there will be no chance of doing any biasness, and if anyone is having any type of issue, the lawyer is there, he is responsible to see into the matter. Okay, and the in charge persons are different in all the cells. You can you can just communicate with them if you feel that you have any problem regarding anything. The email ID has been given for the grievance redressal cell here. And what is the objective of grievance redressal cell? The main objective of the grievance redressal cell is to develop a responsive and accountable attitude among all the stakeholders in order to maintain a harmonious educational environment to the campus. So it's not only regarding or related to the women's, but it is regarding to all the stakeholders, including students, teaching, non-teaching, administration, everyone been included into this particular redressal cell. And the grievances that can be addressed under the GRC are any issue which is not been covered under anti-ragging cell or internal complaints committee or the WDC, that is Women Development Cell, will be addressed by the GRC. Okay, now which all the punishment can be found guilty or will be given to the person who found guilty. Any student or a group of students found guilty under any of this committee shall be liable to one or more of the following punishments: debarring from appearing in any sessional test or a university examination, suspension from attending classes and academic privileges, withdrawing scholarships and other benefits, suspension from the college for a period of a 1 month. The same shall apply to students who make false accusation. Okay, so these all are been given by these particular statutory committees, and it was mandatory to inform to you all. Okay, so it is now been informed to you all that what all committees we have and under which you can go and put your concerns and put your issues, and you can report whatever if you are facing into the college environment. And the teachers are there, enough number of teachers are there in each cell. They'll try to help you and they'll surely help you with your issues. Okay, and it's not only the members are getting involved, it's like principal, vice principals, all are there, your coordinators are there. If you feel that you cannot approach these teachers directly because you don't know them, because they belongs to the other departments, you can go to your own department teachers, because there are, many, the committees has been formed in such a way that you'll have at least one faculty from the department. You can approach to her or him. If not, then if you are comfortable with someone to share your issues, you can do that also. It will be passed to the respective committee. Okay, so this is all been like I've told you now what committees we have. Now also, if you have any problem, you can just let me know so that I can try to have your issues and I'll forward it. Okay, but the email IDs are given. I'll share this PPT with you in the same given drive link, and you can get the PPT and the email addresses. Fine. So now the next one, what we are going to study, it's back to our syllabus, Enterprise Java. So now we have completed almost 4 chapters. Okay, and we have 2 more chapters left, that is your 5th and 6th chapter. And I told you yesterday that the 5th chapter, the chapter name is itself is working with servlets. Okay, the working with servlets means now you are going to learn that how you are going to create the servlets in your Java. And if you remember, I have shown you one in one of the lecture, that how to create servlets, how to create the applications and all those things. So I'll take that after your sixth chapter. Okay, first I'm going to start with your 6th chapter, and then at the end of this chapter, or at the end of this unit, I'm just going to give you a brief about your 5th chapter, because nothing is much there in the 5th chapter. It just hardly takes 10 to 15 minutes to explain, okay, the steps and all. Because until and unless you will not do practically, it is not going to understand, and you will not be able to do it. So just the chapter is there, so I'll just let you know what all things are there into that chapter. Fine. So now we'll be starting with your 6th chapter. So that is JDBC, Java Database Connectivity. Till now what we have studied is like introduction, that we started with your first chapter, that what are web applications and how to have that web application, what is the the web application range. What we have studied in SY is not exactly similar to what we are going to do it in our TY in Enterprise Java. Okay, so the application can be complex, it can be big, and how to deal with it, what can be the advantage and what can be the disadvantage, this all we have studied. Then we have started with your 2nd chapter, where we know that what tier of architectures we have to follow for web application technologies and enterprise application technologies. There will be 1 tier, 2 tier, 3 tier and 4 tier architecture. There can be n number of tier architectures available. Okay, and for each tier architecture, we know that there are some advantages and disadvantages. So as per your web application, that what you are developing, you have to decide that what tier of architecture you are going to follow it. Fine. Then we came to the 3rd chapter. In 3rd chapter, we know that we started with the servlet. Okay, introduction to servlet, where where we learned about these servlets and how we can use the servlets to develop our web application. And we know that why we have to use the Java servlets or the other technologies over the CGI, that is your common gateway interface traditional technologies, that we know also. And servlets, in servlets actually we have studied about the servlet lifecycle. And the last chapter, that is your 4th chapter, in that we have learned about the 2 packages, which is very important for implementing your servlet and its interfaces and classes. So when we know about the first package, that is, I hope everyone knows about it, that is javax.servlet.star. So we have total 7 interfaces and 1 class. And I hope that you all know the name of the interfaces and that 1 class name. Second package consisting of almost around 3 interfaces and 1 class. And out of that 3 interfaces, we have 1 interface which is consisting of 2 main concepts, that is cookies and sessions, that is your HTTP session interface. Okay, and we have learned about some number of difference between servlet context and servlet config, then servlet input stream and servlet output stream. There are number of differences are available, difference between cookies and sessions. These are all important questions, you should know it. Then finally we ended with servlet lifecycle, which is like one of the most important questions you can have from this unit. Okay, So if it is very common sense, like if I have 6 chapters, so and 6 questions are been coming from your unit one or every unit, so you can identify and you can just let you can just think that each chapter is going to have one question. Okay, so if I'm telling that servlet life cycle is very important, that means along with that question, if you study 2 or more questions, that will be more than enough. Okay, as per exam point of view and scoring point of view, but for the concepts you have to learn everything. Fine. Now we are going to start with Unit 1, Chapter 6, that is Java Database Connectivity. So till now, what we have done, we have created the web application. We know that what tier architectures we have to use while developing the web applications. We have created the interfaces also. We know that how to redirect or reroute from one page to the another page. Yesterday we saw one program also for that. Now, after that, client interface is done, web server part is done, that how to, code for the web server, that also we know using technologies like Servlet, one of the technology we have studied already. Now, the third thing which comes into the picture is your database. Okay. Always keep this image in your mind whenever you talk about a web application. Web application needs 3 things mandatorily. One is your client interface, one is your web server where your the server code or a servlet's code are going to execute, or any enterprise application code is going to execute. Then third comes your database. Okay, so we know the first 2 parts very well, we have studied in the 4 chapters. Now we are going to talk about the database. And the database is not going to work automatically. Everything has to be instructed to your servlets as well as to your database. Then only they are going to connect to each other, then only they are going to communicate with each other. And until and unless you are not going to connect to your database, nothing is going to come as a response for your client. So what will happen? Only request will come from client to the web server, but from the web server to the database, if communication and the connectivity is not there, you are not going to have any form of responses for your client. Okay, so now we'll start with the introduction. What do you mean by JDBC? First of all, when we talk about the database connectivity, always remember the database you can create using number of databases available into the market. I hope you have studied MySQL or Oracle, whatever databases you have learned in your first year or second year. Okay, so these were all the databases which were allowing you to store your data in the form of rows and columns. Okay, now here, if I have a web server and if I have a servlet or a server-side programming which is responsible to communicate to the database as well as to the client, okay, so for client it can remotely connect and can have a redirection from the client interface to the server page, but from server to database we need something in between to have that communication. Okay, the communication is going to be built because of one thing, that is nothing but the database drivers. Okay, now what do you mean by database drivers? So I want to connect my servlet to my database, and in database I have already created number of rows and columns. I have created tables. Okay, I have stored my information there. Now I want that information to be given to my client, but that information from database to the web server and from web server to client is only going to happen when I'm going to have something called it as database drivers. Okay, and the database drivers are nothing but they are something software programs. Okay, they are something the protocols, and the protocols which will be followed for communication. The way, if I am using HTTP protocol over the online program where I am going to have communication between client and the server. Okay, so similarly I have to have a protocol whenever I am going to have a communication between your server and the database. Okay, I hope I am clear and you are understanding what I'm saying. When I talk about client to server, it's about the protocol that can be your HTTP or HTTPS. When I talk about the communication between your server and the database, second and the third layer, then the protocol never comes in the form of HTTP or HTTPS. It is something known as drivers. Drivers can also be known as protocols, and that protocol is nothing. You have 2 protocols available. Okay, that is JDBC and there will be ODBC. Okay, so there will be JDBC driver and there will be ODBC driver. These 2 drivers can be used to have the communication between your web server and your database. Fine. So now we will study both JDBC and ODBC. And I'll tell you in the very first, starting that we are going to use JDBC in this enterprise Java, in the practicals, what we are going to do. Why we are using only JDBC, not going for the ODBC, that also I'll tell you. Okay, so don't worry about that. For the time being, you just have to understand that the communication which I want to build between your server, your servlet program to the database, and I want that the servlet program should fetch the information from the database for my client. I should have some driver in between which will do that work. And that driver is nothing but it's a protocol, it's a software, it's a program written which will build that communication. Okay. And we know that there are two types of drivers available, two types of protocols available which we can implement between this web server and the database. So the very first is what your JDBC and the second one is your ODBC. Okay. Now we talk about the JDBC, that is Java Database Connectivity. The full form is what? Java Database Connectivity. It's nothing but it's a Java standard which is going to provide me an interface for connecting these servlets, or we can say the connecting the Java file to the relational databases, the databases which I'm going to create into my database, okay, or the tables which I'm going to create into my database. Fine. Here the JDBC is a standard, it's a protocol, it's a driver, it's a software which is been defined by the Sun Microsystems. Okay, it's the same company which has defined or designed the Java. After that, it was been acquired by the another company, that's an Oracle. Fine. So JDBC is the standard which has been defined by the Sun Microsystems, and it has been implemented through the package called as java.sql.star. So if you remember yesterday, we know that there are three packages available for implementing these servlets, that is javax.servlet.star and javax.servlet.http.star and then javax.io.star, java.io.star. Okay, so similarly, whenever you are going to have a database connectivity program in your application, so mandatorily you have to import java.sql.star package. Otherwise, the classes which are available inside this sql.star, you are not being able to use it, and you have to use those classes because you want to build that communication. Okay, so this is like mandatory part. Whenever we are going to start with the database connectivity program, the very first thing which you have to write is sql.star package. Now, the JDBC library, which includes numbers of APIs, okay, and for each of the tasks which we want to do it with the server and the database. So what all things can be, associated, or what all things we can do with the JDBC in between your server and the database. We can create the connection to the database. We can also create the SQL and MySQL statements. We can execute those query languages or queries into the database, and we can just view and modify the records which has been stored into your database. Okay, so these particular APIs which are available for your JDBC, it will help you to do all these tasks. Fine. Now, what is the design of JDBC, that is Java Database Connectivity? It is designed to provide a database neutral API for accessing relational databases from different vendors. What does it mean? So now when I talk about the JDBC, I'll tell you that JDBC is specifically meant, or it was developed for Java only. Okay. When I talk about this particular driver, JDBC driver, it is nowhere being used for any other language. It is only been used for the Java language. It is specifically made for the Java. Okay. When I talk about the second driver, that is your ODBC driver, ODBC driver can be used for any native language, that can be for C, C++, and the other programming languages. Okay. So here the one difference I told you why JDBC and ODBC we have, when both are the drivers and both can be used for database connectivity. Thing is that the JDBC is made specifically for your Java, which will make the life easier when I'm going to work with the database connectivity with Java. Okay, ODBC is meant for the native languages like your C, C++, and the other languages, other objective oriented languages. Okay, so here what they're saying, the JDBC has been designed in such a way that it is going to give me a database neutral API. That means the API of JDBC is so much neutral that it is not going to affect that what type of database and from which vendor I am using the database. Okay, that means if I'm having a web server and if I'm having a database, no matter what database you are using, maybe it is Oracle, maybe it is MySQL, or it is an SQL server, it's an SQLite, if anything, any database you talk about, so that database, different vendors database is never going to be affected, and the design is not going to change of the JDBC because it is having that neutral API which is going to work to all the relational databases which is coming from different vendors. Okay, so this is like also again an advantage we have for JDBC. Now the JDBC was developed to work with the most common types of databases, that is your relational databases. Okay, and it is also working with non-relational databases which can comes in the form of flat files or the spreadsheets, like your Excel file can also work like a database. Okay, so for example, when we use a Google form and then we try to collect some data, it always comes into your normal Excel file. And even in the projects, okay, even in the projects there is no restrictions of using your spreadsheets or an Excel file like your database. You can connect your normal MS Excel file as a database to your Java also, okay, which are not relational, but still you can integrate your Excel file or a spreadsheets along with your Java, and you can have the Java database connectivity with that. Fine. Now we are talking about that JDBC is meant for the relational databases. So I hope the relational database is been known to everyone that what relational databases are. It's a collection of data items with predefined relationships between them, and that relationship is going to be built with the help of primary and the foreign keys among the tables, among the data. These items are being organized as a set of tables, and that form of table is what it comes in the form of rows and columns. Okay, and it is going to hold the information about the entities which you are going to create and the objects which you are going to create, and it is going to be represented into your database. You can have n number of databases, and you can have n number of tables into that n number of databases. You can have n number of rows and columns into that n number of tables. Okay, so this is like, and you can relate to them, you can just integrate them, you can merge them, you can make the tables related to each other by using the concept called RDBMS. Fine. So this is like brief about the relational databases you have. Now, when I talk about the Java database connectivity, how it is going to work, if you understand this diagram, then you don't have to worry about anything which you're going to learn in this chapter. Just you have to keep all these things into your mind. Okay. Now, what we have, the very first thing is your Java application. Fine, where we are going to code something. There you can have the very first thing will be your interface, and from the interface it comes to your Java web application which is running inside your web container. Okay, maybe it is written in servlet, and here I am going to have all the Java code. Next, I want to have a database connectivity. Now what I'm going to have, the application which is going to communicate to the database, and the databases are here. Okay, so we have 4 layers. The first layer can be your application, and the last layer will be your database. So you can see between your application and your database there are 2 more things available. Fine. So now here what I'm going to have, whenever I'm going to find send a request to the database to fetch some response, what is going to happen, first is going to meet to the API which is predefined in your Java. Okay, in your development kit, and that API is for what, for the JDBC, that is JDBC driver. Okay, now this JDBC API is going to deal, and this is going to be neutral. That's why we said that JDBC is having a neutral API. Okay, and along with this API there is one thing being attached, that is what, JDBC driver manager. Okay, why we need this JDBC driver manager, because I told you that the JDBC can communicate to any form of databases available from the different vendors. Okay, here you have to understand one thing. If I have different databases like your Java DB, Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server, SQLite, so whatever database you talk about, each database have its own drivers. Okay, if I hope I am clear that each database, it's having its own driver, its own path through which we can identify which database we are working with. Okay, so if I talk about the SQLite, I have a specific driver, SQLite driver for this database. If I talk about JavaDB, then I have a specific JavaDB driver available for this database. Okay, so I am going to identify the database, and I'm going to communicate with my database along by taking their drivers, by taking by communicating with their drivers. Fine. So maintaining all these drivers from the different databases, I need some driver manager over here which will manage each databases with different drivers. Fine. And then we have what databases available over here from where the responses are going to come. This can be your RDBMS, which they are using the RDBMS concept, where the relations of the tables and the databases are formed from where the data is going to come for your application. So this is all the working of your Java database connectivity. Now, the second driver is what your ODBC, that is Open Database Connectivity. That means it is not specifically only for your Java, but it is open for all types of languages and all types of databases available. And it was being given by the Microsoft, and which is going to allow the application to have the number of data or access the data from the database. Okay, using the SQL queries. So ODBC is having the permission to have the maximum interoperability. That means you can have n number of databases through which you can communicate. Okay. Now, when I'll show you the diagram, you can see over here, I have number of different applications available from where the data can come. Okay. So it's even the application independent, no matter which applications you are using, from where the data is going to come. Like your JDBC driver manager, again we have an ODBC driver manager. Okay, now here if you'll see, we have ODBC driver. So there you, what used to have, what used to have in your JDBC, you used to have the driver for each databases. Okay, so each database is going to have their own drivers. Here it is not going to happen that way. Here it is going to be one neutral ODBC driver will be available, which is going to work with all the databases. Okay, so if I talk about, this is the database, no matter which type of databases you are using over here, it is going to have the driver. Not I am going to use the database driver, but I am going to have specific ODBC driver to deal with it. Okay, and that ODBC driver is going to communicate to your driver manager and then the applications. Okay, so this is the clear difference. I hope that you know and you have understood. Now we'll quickly go to the difference between your ODBC and the JDBC. Your ODBC stands for Open Database Connectivity, and the JDBC stands for Java Database Connectivity. When I talk about the ODBC, it was been introduced by Microsoft in 1992, and it was JDBC was been introduced by Sun Microsystems in 1997. ODBC, it can be used for any language, even including Java, okay, C, C++, Java, but we can use JDBC only for Java languages. We can choose ODBC only, okay, when we talk about the any native platforms or any other database platforms, we can use it. We can use JDBC in any platform. Mostly ODBC driver developed in native languages, which we know already, and JDBC the standard was been developed for Java database connectivity. For Java application, it is not been recommended to use ODBC because performance will be down due to the internal conversions, and the applications will become platform dependent. That's why we are neglecting the ODBC, because two things will come into the picture if I am going to the ODBC for my Java application. First will be the performance is going to be down, and then second is going to be platform dependency, which we don't want it in the Java. Okay, so Java is only meant for the platform independent. So for that need, we are using the JDBC, because there will be no performance and the platform dependency problem will occur. ODBC is procedural and JDBC is object oriented. So this particular difference between, you should know it, between your JDBC and the ODBC. Okay. Now we talk about the JDBC architecture, and JDBC architecture is I'll just show you the diagram first and then I'll come back here. See, first comes your Java application, then comes your JDBC API, that is a neutral API, which is responsible to deal with the JDBC driver manager. And this JDBC driver manager is going to manage all the different drivers of the different databases which is coming to this particular place. So the data comes from the different databases from using the different drivers, and the JDBC driver manager is going to hold all those type of data and is going to convert the things into the language or into the form which the Java application is going to hold it. Okay, so that's why we are using the JDBC specifically for Java. So here again I come back to this slide, and what we are going to study here is just about the architecture, that it supports both 2 tier and 3 tier models. Okay, and in 2 tier what used to happen, we used to have 1 tier where I have the first 2 layers, that is your client layer and the application layer where the business logic is going to execute, and the third layer was your database layer which was separated. So in 2 tier what happens, in first place, client tier and application tier is going to be in one single place, and the database tier is going to be into some other place, and they can communicate with each other remotely. And in 3 tier what happens, all the 3 layers are into the different 3 places. Okay, so it is working for both 2 tier and 3 tier. So first we have JDBC API. Okay, so in JDBC API what happens, this is a neutral API. I told you that it can work with n number of drivers available of the databases. Okay, and it can help me to have the communication between your application to your JDBC manager. And what do you mean by JDBC driver API? It is going to support the JDBC manager to the driver connection. Okay, so this diagram you should understand, and just remember what first thing comes, your Java application from where the request is going to come. The JDBC API is going to work for me, it is neutral, so no matter which driver is going to come from which database, that all is being managed with your JDBC driver manager. We'll have JDBC driver for each type of databases, they have specific drivers available. Okay, if I can show you first that, like what type of drivers we have, I'll just show you that first. Wait, so that you will understand more what type of drivers we have. Okay, so if you can see over here, I have relational databases over here. First is MySQL. Okay, so if I talk about JDBC driver for MySQL, this is the driver name, this is the driver path of the MySQL. So whenever I am going to use MySQL database to integrate with my web application, what I have to do is, in my servlet code, I have to mention that which database and which driver I am using it. Okay, so when I mention this path, your servlet is going to understand automatically that, okay, the database is MySQL and I'm going to use this particular JDBC driver for that database. Okay, when I talk about the Oracle, again the database driver is going to change for the Oracle. So if you'll see over here, the MySQL driver is something like this. When I talk about the Oracle, it's something like oracle.jdbc.driver.oracle driver. Okay, so when you mention this path, the program is going to understand, okay, you are going to use the Oracle database. Okay, and for that particular database we have given the predefined driver path. These are all defined predefined driver path available for this particular databases. Okay, whenever I am going to communicate and whenever I am going to connect, we have a connectivity using JDBC. So this is the defined database drivers available. Okay, so I'll come back to this after having number of things before, like I have number of things to explain to you. So maybe not today, but whenever we are going to reach to that particular point, I'll explain to you. So just wanted to show you that how the drivers are looking like, and then how we can use it in our program. That all driver names and driver path we have to give in a servlet program, so that your servlet is going to understand to which database I have to connect. Okay, now you have some common JDBC components. The first is what, your driver. That's nothing but again a protocol, or you can say the software, or it can be the interface, okay, which is going to handle the communication between your server and the database. Okay, Then comes your driver manager, who is responsible to manage the numbers of database drivers coming from the different databases. Then we have the connection class. Okay. When we talk about the java.sql.star package, there are predefined classes available for your database, for the database connectivity. Okay, we'll see one by one afterwards. Don't take that much load into it. You know how it is going to work. Just for that, we'll in a brief we'll just try to understand. So third component is what? Your connection. So this is like one of the class, predefined class available in your JDBC API. Okay, so this class is going to give me an option to build the communication with the database, the very initial phase. When I talk about the servlet, what used to happen, the very first thing, initialization. So that starting and the initialization of the connectivity happens whenever I am going to call this connection class, whenever I am going to create this connection class. And when I create this connection class, I will be have some methods into which I have to call those driver paths which I have shown you just now. So if I say that I want to use MySQL database, then what I have to do, I have to give that predefined path into the method of this connection class. And this connection is class going to understand that, okay, I have to connect to this particular driver and I have to connect to this particular database. Okay, we'll see with an example also, but for a timing you just have to understand that this particular interface is going to help me to connect to my database, the very first step. Then we have the next component is what? Your statement component. It is going to submit all the SQL statements to my database, and this statement is again one of the class available like your connection class. So when I use the statement class after your connection class, what will happen? I will be submitting some SQL responses, or I will be submitting some SQL queries to my database with my servlet file. So inside your servlet, what you are going to do, you are going to code and you are going to call the java.sql.star package. Out of that, you are going to use the connection class. You are going to use a statement class. What you exactly want from your database? You want a response? Okay. So in database, how we get the responses from my tables and from my database using the select statements. Okay. So here what you can do is in servlet file, while using this statement class, you can write the select queries, and that select queries is going to be executed by your servlet engine, and then it is response is going to be generated. Okay, and then we have result set. That means whatever query you have written into your statement is going to be getting executed into your this particular class, that is your result set class. Okay, and it is going to hold all the data which is been retrieved from your database based on the query which you have given in your statement class. Then comes your SQL exception. That is something being meant for handling any type of error that is going to occur in your database application. Okay, so these are some components we have. That first is what? Your driver. Then we have driver manager. Then we have connection class. Then we have statement class. Then we have result set class. Then we have SQL exception class. Okay, so here I'm just stopping with the chapter. We are going to continue tomorrow. Okay, and I hope that you have understood at least that what databases are and what drivers for the databases are, then what design and the architecture of JDBC, why we are using JDBC over the ODBC. These all things you should know it. Okay, so thank you, and just stop sharing this. If you have any doubt, you can just let me know so that I can solve it. And by that time, I'll just give you the attendance link.